What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. My name is John Stamper. It is an absolute honor to be coming to you live in the Dinks Facebook group. I recall several years back having a conversation with Dr. Chad Duplantis and him talking about starting the podcast and to see where this has gone with Dr. Jeff Horowitz and the team at Dinks and all of that. So to be in this Facebook group today hosting this is quite an honor. You also could be watching this on the Dinks YouTube channel. So we're streaming this live in there as well. All right. So today's webinar, as you saw, Reach for the Clouds. You are in for a great treat with Dr. Jeff Horowitz and Dr. Mitchell Rubinstein, as well as Dr. Chad Duplantis. So all of them are going to speak their thoughts on cloud technology and as you saw, consolidating your technology, most importantly, so that you can drive efficiency and productivity, all in an effort to simplify what you're doing in your practice with technology. And of course, all three of them practicing dentists and have great experience on how they're using this technology in their practices today. A couple of housekeeping notes. If you want to get 2 hours of CE for this webinar, at the completion of the webinar, there will be a link inside the Facebook comments, and same thing on YouTube at the end of the webinar in the description for this YouTube live. The link for CE will be in there. All you need to do is go ahead and click on that, fill out your information, and the team from CE Exchange will send over your 2-hour CE certificate. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. We're going to start with Jeff, and then he's going to turn it over to Mitch, and then he's going to turn it over to Chad, and then I'm going to bring all three of them on to have a Q&A to discuss everything that they talked about, as well as any questions that any of you all that you have as far as the topic that you put in the chat. So with that, thanks everybody for tuning in. I want to give a big shout out to Curve for bringing this to you, this educational webinar in the Dinks Facebook group and on YouTube. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks so much, John. And thank you all for being here with us on Dentists in the Know. I want to say thanks to Chad Duplantis and Mitch Rubinstein for joining me to do this presentation. You know, one of our promises to all of you on Dentists in the Know who are involved with us is that we never endorse any products that have not been vetted, that are not been used by at least two of us, that are understood, and that we can actually stand up and discuss and say we have experience with this. Because it's our reputation. We're all lecturers. We all have to stand on the podium, and we all need to be able to hold our heads up about anything that we talk about. So in this presentation, Reach for the Clouds, we're going to talk about maximizing the management technologies to help drive practice efficiency and productivity. My section is getting the most from human resources with cloud-based technology. I'm not going to introduce myself because you all know me at this point. So I just want to get right into the presentation and say, you know, why are we here? What made me decide at this point in my career that I needed to look into a new practice management system? In fact, I didn't even know that I needed a new practice management system. So when we, talk about this, I really just want to come at this with from a non-technical standpoint, because I didn't know how badly I needed cloud-based technology. I have two practices. One is a sleep and TMJ practice. One is a general dentistry practice. We have two different locations. And I can tell you that there were a lot of struggles with our old software system, and from having the resources to be able to access information efficiently. And that wasn't just true for me, it was true for my team. So I want to come at this from the perspective of the most valuable resource that we have in dental practice, which is our team, the people that we rely on every day, and that really your patients are going to spend more time with than just about anyone else. And when we talk about human resources, it's not just about managing people, right? Um, the team are the heart and the soul of the practice, and anything that makes their job easier and more rewarding is always going to be a sound investment. So, when we talk about human resources, it's not just managing people. We're also talking about making the business function more efficiently. We want our team to be able to hone their skills and do so in a way where training is very easily accessible. And believe it or not, this is available in a web-based software, which is something that I really had no idea that all these things could be available in a web-based software system, practice management system. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is have something that enables change, but enables change, which is probably one of the most difficult things we face in dentistry. If you ask dentists, what scares them the most as far as implementing new technology, it's practice management software and the pushback that they're going to get from their team in implementing change. Well, what's really interesting about this was that everyone on my team, before we made the decision to switch, everyone on my team had so many concerns with the server-based software that we were using in the practice and how inefficient it was. They were always upset about how the updates had to occur. They were always upset about the lack of training that was always available and the information that was available in real time. So when we talk about all of these things, we're also talking about the ability to improve the performance of the team and also to be able to view performance in real time through our practice management software. So is it possible that software can impact all of these concerns with human resources? I'm going to say absolutely. I certainly had my doubts before we switched over to Curve, but this all came true. So when we talk about the first aspect of human resources, which is managing people, managing the team, you're looking at some of the members from my team in my Murrells Inlet office. And on the top left, that's Trina. She is the office manager. And one of her big concerns was, what do I do if we have a hurricane and I need to be able to get to the patient list and contact patients in real time? And she was always upset when we would get in and all of a sudden our database had to be re-indexed because somebody left a computer monitor up or somebody left their computer on. And these were some of her big concerns. And Sydney, who you see in the middle, who is our patient relations specialist, she was saying that she was spending so much time in dealing with patient communications and the different systems that we had to communicate with patients that she wasn't able to devote the time to the people that were standing right in front of her. And then at the bottom, on the two sides on the bottom, you see Michelle and Leanne. They're both hygienists who had so many concerns with how we were charting and how our imaging was integrated and how we can manipulate the imaging within our software. And of course, for a hygienist, it's going to be a lot about clinical information and how easy it is to access that. So they had concerns. And then you're looking at Hannah in the bottom, who is a single mom, and she is my bookkeeper. She needs to work remotely a lot of the time, and she needs to be able to access information in real time as it's happening and not wait for a report to be emailed from Trina or have difficulty accessing the database. So all of my team members had concerns, and I made sure that when we were making this change that that we had them on board. And the way that we did that was by saying, what are some of the challenges? What are some of the friction points that we have with our current software? And when we did that, it kind of came to light that yes, this was going to be a really, really welcome change. And so when we start talking about Curve, Curve has separate modules. Curve Hero is going to be basically your practice management software, like what you're used to having, all of your reporting, all of your scheduling. And then there's another module called Curve Grow. And what Curve Grow is going to offer is everything for communications with your patients. That makes life a whole lot easier and integrates some of the different technologies so that your patient communication specialist, or whatever you call them at your front desk, is able to spend more time with the people that are standing right in front of them. So let's go back to talking about managing people. And one of the easiest things that you'll see in Curve Hero is how simple the controls are, how intuitive the taskbar is. So just with a simple click, I can look at all of my employees and look at everything that they're allowed to do, what their access is. Not only that, when they're allowed to actually be in the system, the hours for the practice, we can manage time. Again, these are all human resource concerns. And Hannah, who is my bookkeeper, also handles a lot of the human resources. So the fact that she's able to log on and see the access and run audit reports and actually make allowances for when people are allowed to be in the system and exactly what parts of the system they're allowed to access, that really makes managing time and managing the team really easy. So hours of access is a big thing. And when we talk about human resources, we also we're talking about making businesses run more efficiently. And what is efficiency? Efficiency is really where doing things very well, or quality, match with doing things quickly, or speed. And when we're able to do that, when we're able to do things quickly, and we're able to do that in a way that gives us a quality end result, then what we are seeing is that our costs for running a practice go down. The amount of time we're needing to pay our most valuable resources in the practice goes down, and that's our most important cost. That's really one of the highest line items when we look at our profit and loss. So making the most of the time is what makes an efficient practice. So when we talk about communications and being efficient with that, I told you Sydney's biggest concern was that it took so much of our time to see what went through in our other software, our other communication software, what happened, what didn't happen. And now with Mango Voice, which fully integrates with our Curve software, every touch point with every patient is documented. And I know we've all had those patients in practice that have come along and it becomes a he said, she said, and not because of anything you've done wrong. Maybe it was a money matter. Maybe it was I tried to call you, or you never called to confirm my appointment. What's beautiful about this integrated system is that now every single one of these touch points is documented without anyone having to do anything. The automated system will try to confirm the appointment. It puts the note in that the appointment was confirmed, that there was no reply, that there was a voicemail left, that there was a text sent, that there was an email sent. So every single one of these things is documented, and that is just so nice, especially when you have that unfortunate situation with a patient where it does become a he said, she said opportunity. The other thing that we get is a much more efficient patient access module with Curve. So the patient actually has their own portal that they can get into. Now, if you're in a server-based system, if you're allowing patient access, what are you doing? You're actually allowing those patients into your servers in your practice. Who knows what else is on those servers? So if you don't think that security is a big concern when it comes to not just your human resources, not just the people within your practice, but all the people outside of your practice. If you actually want to have a good patient hub, you have got to be web-based, because now you're not letting all of these other outside entities into your software, into your practice server, which might house who knows whatever else with your personal information, etc. So the nice thing about this web-based patient portal is that we can educate patients with great videos. They can get in, they can look at their appointment summaries, they can make payments, they can do all their forms online. That comes to us back in real time. And basically, they can also get into different payment options that they can look at directly through their patient portal. So all of these opportunities that I didn't even know could exist do. Our scheduling has become so much easier now. That's probably one of the favorite things that Sydney mentions is how easy it is to schedule, how easy it is to look for an available time based on who the provider is, what days are we looking for, what kind of a date range are we looking for, what kind of a time range. So it makes even the times where she's on the phone, it makes all of those communications go so much smoother. And again, my job here is not to give you a demonstration of everything that the software does. Go to Curve. You can do a full demonstration. I'm telling you how this affected my practice. And that's what we are really trying to be here is more informational. Prescribing, when we get those calls on the weekend, or it's just so easy for me to log in and for me to e-prescribe now. And in their Arcopia e-prescription module, one of the great things is I know right away if this is going to be something covered. If I need to have a discussion with the patient, look, I want you on this med, but I see under your plan, if you want to have that conversation, maybe you don't want to have that conversation. But all this information comes up in real time. Their preferred pharmacy, all of this just pops up in real time. And it's just a great thing. Now, when we talk about efficiency, here's really where the rubber meets the road. So this is what I used to have to do. I used to actually have to go in and then go into one program that opened up my laptop called SonicWall to allow me to be able to just access, or just to have remote access to the office. And then we would have to connect through SonicWall Net Extender. And you're watching this. This is real time. I recorded this from my computer, just trying to access my computer at one of my offices. So I'm waiting for SonicWall to come up. And hopefully the login and everything works there. Great, I got into SonicWall. So now I'm going to click on my a workstation at the office, and I'm going to try to connect. And hopefully everything's working out well there. Now we're almost up to a minute at this point, and we're connecting, we're connecting, we're connecting, we're connecting, we're connecting, we're connecting. Huh. Oh, geez, somebody didn't leave the computer on. And so now, after all that time, I have no access to my patient pool. I have no access to their information. I have no access to their prescription history if they're on meds from another provider. Absolutely crazy. So this is the logon when we look at using a web-based software with Curve. This is how fast it happens. Into Google, going to click on Curve Hero. So it takes just a couple of seconds for Curve Hero to pop up on the screen. But once I'm in. There's my schedule for the day already popping up. That's it. I'm in my system. I can go anywhere I want right now. And it's so much more predictable, and I can do that from any location on the face of the earth. And this was done even on a wireless connection, and it wasn't a very high speed connection. This was not a wired from a home base station. This was just from a laptop, just on a local Wi-Fi network. So you can see what a difference that makes. When we talk about Grow, which is one of the modules that is part of Curve, we have this information hub that's telling us what's new. You remember some of the frustration was about training and the availability of what's coming up. With a web-based software, updates are done automatically in real time. You're not having to pay somebody to be there and talk with somebody on the other end. So you're not having to coordinate your IT people with your software people, and that's disruptive to the practice. So in the information hub, we see what's new, and you can see as Curve Grow, as I said, is everything about patient communication and making your practice more efficient. And so this is a new Smart Fill module that they're coming out with that allows you to fill last-minute slots all over your schedule. You want to talk about profitability and paying for the system? It's done right there. There's an event coming up on Hero Huddle to help you make your morning huddles more efficient. Again, this is not just about you, doctor. This is about how do we make things more efficient.
My hygienist, you remember what their concerns were. So here's what they had to say. So Michelle says, the simplicity of charting is great. As a dental hygienist, not having to look up dental codes is one thing that's very helpful when it comes to Curve. Another thing about Curve is that more than one person can be in a patient's chart. That is huge. I can't tell you what a frustration that was when we were on our server-based software. So many people can be in the chart in the same time frame. So that's important. And then Leanne says there's two main functions that I love about Curve. One is that I can chart by writing on the to chart with the drawing function. I've never used a system that can do that. Now, Leanne has been in many practices. She just moved to South Carolina a few years ago, and she was so impressed by what this was able to do. I've never used a system that can do that, and it helps to make notes in a paperless world. I love the ease of scheduling a 6-month recall. What a big time saver. And then finally, Hannah, who is my accountant, not my accountant, but my bookkeeper and my human resources manager. She says, as a single mom, every single second counts. The simplicity of reliable remote login and real-time fast reporting makes my job as a bookkeeper and human resource manager a breeze. I wish the practice had done this sooner. So what's holding you back from having a more efficient practice? Is it fear of change? Or is it fear of being more efficient? Hopefully it's, not the latter. You are going to be more efficient. These are all the features that are available with Curve. I'm not going to go into that. I encourage you to just do a demo, see what it can do, compare it to the software that you're in. But I can tell you, it has made my practice more efficient. More importantly, it has made my practice more safe. Right? I don't have to worry about security audits. I don't have to worry about intrusion detection. I don't have to worry about maintaining something that when a patient logs in, that I'm worried about them possibly putting ransomware or accessing any of my personal data. So this is about safety as well. It's about peace of mind, but it's about these people that are so important to you, your most valuable asset, and your team will thank you. You know, it's okay to encourage and to embrace change. You're going to reap the rewards from having a much more efficient system. So I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts, and the most important one being that it's okay to embrace change. Make your team a part of that process. Make them realize why the change is so important and all the friction points that they have been having to put up with, and how their jobs can become easier and much more make it a much happier situation for them. So I want to say thank you to Curve. I want to say thank you to Mango, to Dentist in the Know, and to our great friend, Mitch Rubinstein. If you're not already a member of Dentist in the Know and you're watching here, join in, get active. It's a great group. It's real information. It's honest, vetted information. And there's my email if you have any questions and want to contact me. I'll leave you with this last message. Your beliefs don't make you a better person. Your behavior does. Have a great day, everyone. Great stuff ahead. Well, guys, we're up to the next part of this webinar, and I'm so honored to have one of the greatest friends of Dinks and a great personal friend, Dr. Mitch Rubinstein. First met Mitch at a Dental Nachos event. We hit it off right away, and Mitch is a seasoned veteran of dentistry, true expert clinician, knows so much about technology, and he's been so kind to share a lot of his knowledge with many of the social media groups. And you all know we've had him on Dinks before. He's a great friend, and I just want to thank you for contributing to this. And I can't wait to learn from you, because I think you're going to give us a little bit more detailed view of practice management within Curve software. But I love your concept of zero data loss. I love that the first second you mention it. So we're looking forward to it. Without any further ado, Mitch Rubinstein.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate that kind and almost embarrassingly kind information. I've been a member, an avid member of the Dentists in the Know Facebook group for quite some time. I've always gone there to learn, a lot of stuff. And even though I post things all the time, I always feel in that group like I learn even more than I post, than things from that I post. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you and Chad for inviting me to this. And the whole way this came about was just an interesting thing, because you, Jeff, and Chad and I were all dentists. We're, practicing very differently, though. We have very different types of practices, and we do different things. And yet, when we were talking about this issue of our information systems, we just kind of discovered, we had all reached this conclusion that we should be doing practice management through the cloud in a similar, time frame. And then that we were all making the decision to switch to Curve. Similar, and we hadn't discussed it amongst ourselves, and yet we had all come to this conclusion. And I immediately thought, wow, there's some similarities there in our thinking and how we're approaching this problem that go beyond any differences in the way we practice. And it really meant something to me, which is why I was happy when you invited me to participate in this. So when I say zero information loss, I'm talking about how important information is in our practices, and I want to show you why. First, why should anybody listen to me or care what I have to say? I am a practicing dentist. That's what I do full time in New York City. But I also chair the technology committee for the New York State Dental Association. We respond to a lot of issues with dentists in New York about technology. I'm also on the standards committee for the American Dental Association for informatics. I spent a lot of my non-clinical time talking to people about technology, and so that's how some of my interest in this came about. So, I start this by thinking, well, what business are we really in? I mean, some people watching this are general dentists like me. Some are maybe endodontists or orthodontists. Some might be consultants, or some have some other job affiliated with dentistry. But when we're working, we're thinking, oh, we're fixing teeth. We're doing whatever our clinical thing is. We might have a practice more focused on full mouth rehabs or orthodontics or airway stuff. But really, in a sense, we are all in the same business, and it's not the tooth business. We are in the information business in dentistry now, and that didn't used to be the case, but now it is. You could say you're in the smile business or you're in the health business. Whether you're reading an X-ray or whether you are communicating something to a specialist, getting a prescription into a pharmacy, information is key to everything that we do, and not having the right information where you need it, when you need it, inhibits both your business success and your clinical results, both. No matter how great a clinician you are, if the right information isn't where you need it, when you need it, you're going to have a big problem. So I'm going to start with a little story, a campfire story about the golden age of dentistry. And you've heard this referred to before. Some people, maybe Chad and Jeff, I'm not sure you're quite old enough. I'm a little older than you. But the golden age of dentistry was a time that we all look back and say, oh, things were so wonderful. There were no DSOs like rolling little practices into these giant Frankenstein monster practices. There were no PPO insurance companies reaching into our pockets and stealing our money so their CEO could fly their own private jet. There was no HIPAA police chasing us like Agent Smith chasing Neo around the Matrix. Things were great. They were really awesome. I didn't practice during that time, but I'm told by people even older than me that it was awesome. It was awesome until you had to take an X-ray. And then you realized that when you took that X-ray, that your office looked kind of like this. It looked, whatever it looked like, and maybe it didn't look exactly like this, but you didn't have any screens. You didn't have any computers. You took an X-ray because you were doing a root canal, and you handed it to your assistant, who took it into a dark room to develop it by dipping it in nasty chemicals as quickly as possible, and probably didn't get fixed properly, so it would fade with time. And then you would see it 5-6 minutes later, and you would have missed the apex, so you would do it all over again. Yeah, you would obtain information by taking an X-ray, but it wasn't where you needed it when you needed it. This is before digital X-rays. That's what I mean by information loss. You need to send that X-ray to a specialist or do something else with it. How do you do it? You physically copy it and mail it? That's not the way we do things now. And most people practicing now have never done it that way. If you wanted to see your schedule, you walked up to the front desk and looked at the paper schedule and saw what it was. How much money are you making? You actually went through a pile of paper credit card receipts or whatnot. Who's due for recall? You had a box of cards that were mailed out. They were keyed by month, and that's how you knew who was coming in for recall. And I don't even want to get started on prescriptions because prescribing medication is something that we do frequently, and it is super necessary to do it accurately and not prescribe things that are inappropriate for a certain patient and have a good record of the prescription. Before we were prescribing electronically, that's it was one of the reasons that I ended up making this switch. Just the other day, I was walking down the street and I got a text message through my secure portal from a patient. Oh, I just realized I have an appointment in 2 hours and I don't have my pre-medication, which not that long ago would have been, oh, okay, fine. I guess we're not having an appointment today. I got into through my secure access to my practice management software. I looked up their information through Arcopia or Dr. First, which is the prescribing, integrated prescribing. I looked at what they had been prescribed in the past. I looked up what their allergies and their medical history said. I prescribed it immediately with a stat note to the pharmacist, please have this ready immediately. Patient went and got the prescription, came in for their appointment. It's a hygiene appointment. It wasn't like the end of the world, but in days past, that information loss of not having the right information to be able to prescribe on the spot would have cost me a visit. And if you multiply that times the number of different ways in which we lose information when we don't have it available, it costs us money and can also result in prescribing the wrong thing or not prescribing the right thing. So it's serious business. Now, we need to manage more information. It's coming at us like a fire hose. We have all of our patient demographics. This is in Curve, which is a beautiful charting system. Our progress notes and things like that. Treatment plans, credit cards, all go directly through Curve and are entered automatically. Medical histories, I'll get to that in a minute, but the printed medical history on a clipboard that we just stick in front of people's faces, that's a thing of the past, thank goodness. Prescribing, I just talked about. Now, radiographs, cone beams, all types of information that we need to see, even if it's all of it's digital now. Okay, all of it. And we need to be able to use it and share it properly, but I need to be able to share it and access it securely. Okay, that's a big deal because we have two responsibilities for this information. One is a professional responsibility to our patients, and the other is a legal responsibility to manage that information, not only through HIPAA, there are other aspects of information technology that require us to keep this information secure. So I need to know who has access to it. I need to protect the integrity of the information so it can't be changed without me knowing it. I want to make that information available when I need it and where I need it, because availability and security of information can conflict with each other, because the more secure it is, the harder it is to get to. And the easier it is to get to, the less secure it is. And these are factors that didn't used to mean that much when everything was in a file cabinet. That's not the case anymore. Backing it up, every person out there who has a server-based system, I know you'll tell me what I hear all the time in lectures. Oh, we have a backup. We'll get to that in a minute also. And beyond all that, I still need to see my next patient. All of this stuff, managing it and taking care of it, if that takes too much of my mental energy and my time, then even if I do it well, I don't have enough mental power and time left over to think properly about this big case that I have to plan. That's not my core competence, information technology. Dentistry is. So when did I decide, I can't do what I'm doing anymore. I have to make a switch, decide to switch to Curve and cloud-based practice management in general. I was like this random lady. I took a picture off the internet. I was at my doctor's office for a cardiology visit. I was taking a stress test or whatever it was. And they handed me for the 15th time in 15 visits, a paper clipboard to fill out information that I had filled out for them half a dozen times before, at least. And they were just checking it against whatever. And somebody had to retype that information. And I realized I do this too. Even though patients can access my forms on my website, they still download them and print them, and they bring them in printed, and I'm putting them into my computer, where my staff obviously is. And I had always resisted portal type systems. Jeff had mentioned this because they require somebody to be able to log into a system that will actually log into my server, which I wasn't really comfortable with. So this picture of this woman filling out this piece of paper, represents information loss. This information is physically being copied and moved around in ways that it's not going to be available where you need it, when you need it. It should be immediately available. So when I did a demo with Curve and I saw, I can have a portal that doesn't access my server directly. It's entirely web-based. And even a new patient can log in, get in their own account. They can put in their information. No spelling mistakes because they put it in directly into my practice management system. They can enter their insurance information so I can submit. Now, my practice is out of network with insurance, but we still submit claims for people. I want to do that accurately because when people's claims don't go in properly and it's something that I typed wrong or my front desk typed wrong, no one's happy with that, right? So when I saw that this was possible and secure, I said, I got to find out a little bit more about this, okay? Because all of the things we do now, just think of the different things that you can access, and they all go through the web. Text and email reminders. I used to use Lighthouse 360, which is a fine system, but it requires access to my server. Patient portals that go through the server, communicating with my specialists, Now, many of our phone systems now are voice over IP internet-based phone systems. I actually happen to use Mango like Jeff does. I don't think we talked about that either. But I was doing that even before Curve. AI systems, which integrate in a whole different way. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what Chad has to say about that. Even things like our security systems, our entertainment systems in our office, all of it is controlled through our computers now and provide access portals that we don't necessarily want. It's all ones and zeros now, and it all touches the web, and we need to manage security for this, and it's not our core competence. So what do? So most of the people watching this now have something like one of these three boxes or sets of blinking lights somewhere in your office, under a desk or in a closet. This is your server. Now, in my capacity as the chair of the technology committee for State Dental Association, we react and respond to people with technology problems. So these are just three that I've kind of run into. The one on the left, I couldn't even believe that these people could actually get their system working. This thing was held together like with tape and glue and spit. The one in the middle on the bottom, not that bad, really, but it was on the floor in a dental office, right? A place where leaks of water are not unheard of. So there's a risk no one had even kind of mentioned. The one on the right, actually a pretty good system, but it was super expensive. And to properly maintain it and properly update it as it needed to be updated, that was a huge expense and a responsibility. We feel as dentists, because we are analog thinkers as dentists. And I know digital dentistry is a whole topic of conversation now. I couldn't live without my scanners. I couldn't live without my, without all of my 3D stuff. But we're really analog thinkers, and we feel safer when we have this server in our office. It's like we can hug it and say, "Oh, I have this. I have control over it. It's in my possession." It's a false sense of security, and I liken it to years ago after the Depression, when people didn't trust banks anymore, and some of us, would. Not us, meaning me, I wasn't even alive yet, would put our cash under the floorboards in our house or in the freezer or who knows where, because we felt, oh, this is safe. It's near me. I have control of it. But is it really safer here than in a bank? Obviously, it's not. We don't have armed guards in our house. We don't have 24-hour security. We don't have vaults. We don't have insurance for a pile of cash in our house. And yet we still had this feeling, or people had this feeling, that I can see it. I could open that freezer door and I could see it. And we have the same sense that our servers are safer with us. And that's absolutely not true any longer. The number of different ways people can access that, who's connected to your server. And now Jeff talked about this a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit more detail. So all of these things, who has access, and anything that has access into that server, if that's a conduit for some type of malware, ransomware, even accidental data loss, you're responsible. And how do you recover from that? Your IT company, who you trust, hopefully, there have been several, ransomware attacks where the portal into the practice was a weakness in the IT company. And because they had access through some insecure method to the server, everything's wiped out. Okay. Your patient contact manager, when I was using Lighthouse 360, they had an applet on my server that interacted with everything. Phone systems, if it's voice over IP, often that goes through your server as well. If that's connected to your practice management software, another weakness. Remote staff. Now, Jeff also was talking about this, having offsite access, including you. There are a number of ways that we access our computers offsite, and they all have weaknesses besides the ones that Jeff mentioned, such as if somebody left the computer off, that's the conduit, you can't get into anything. You don't have to worry about that if the server is not in your office. Okay. The last thing I'm going to mention is that you say, oh, you have a backup. Here in New York also, during Hurricane Sandy, which to me in my mind seems like it was yesterday because it was like such unmitigated disaster. We went to help a number of dentists whose offices had been drowned. And let's see the backup. Where's the backup? Some of them had backups that were stored off site. Great. And a surprising number of them, when we went to use those backups to restore the data, did not work. Because a step that is often overlooked is testing a backup. And I can picture mentally through cyberspace a number of people out there sort of scratching their heads and saying, what's that mean? If you haven't taken your backup at some point, where your IT people haven't taken that to a brand new computer and used it to completely restore your system and make sure everything still works, it doesn't necessarily work. You can look and say that message on the backup, oh, backup was completed with no problems. That's very complicated. And I'm not going to go into the number of different ways it can get messed up, but it can. If you haven't tested it, if you're still going to stick with a service system, if you take one thing from this, get it tested. Make them actually restore as though your entire office had been wiped out and that backup was all you had left, because that's the crown jewels of your practice. The data, it's not your cone beam machine, it's not your scanner, it's not your lasers. The crown jewel of your practice is that data, and you want to know where it is. So the cloud, this cloud thing we all talk about, and we all get a little, the cloud, it sounds like a very wispy kind of, the cloud, it's all up there somewhere. I'm going to help you out, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the cloud is. Don't tell anybody I told you, because it's a big secret. What the cloud is somebody else's computer. It's another computer somewhere else, managed by somebody who knows more about managing data than you, who has more access to the tools and the technology and the people to protect it properly, somebody who can update it anytime that it needs to be updated and respond to threats immediately. This is all assuming that you have that it's a cloud-based system that is robust and secure, as Curves is, and as I've satisfied myself that they are. And so when you're accessing something, you're no longer accessing that box, that dusty box under your desk. So all of these points of access, contact management, imaging, patient portal, remote staff, all these things are no longer connected directly to you any longer. So now the whole picture is different. So in my office, now I still have a server. It's just so I can share documents among the computers in my office. But there's nothing on that would be disastrous if I lost it. Okay, all the critical stuff is up there in the cloud on somebody else's computer, on Curves computers, which are redundant and backed up. And I've satisfied myself that their system is, I was really impressed. There are other systems out there that also can do this. This system really impressed me. So I do use Mango also. Dr. First is my prescribing solution. Pearl, you're going to hear about from Chad in just a few minutes, because I'm almost finished. They're all integrated directly through Curves. They don't even pass through the system in my office. Okay, they are locked as far as the access. We can share access. For example, if I have a marketing company that's going to send out do a mailing for me, I can give them temporary access to the database, to just the data they need, and then I can take that key away and I can change the password or revoke their access, and they can't get into it anymore. Not once were they able to access my server in a way that I'm not approving of it. Remote staff also. This is going to become a big thing. You might need somebody to do some bookkeeping for you 2 days a week, and you don't want a new employee. There are plenty of services out there. Some of them are really good, that will give you temporary access to employees who will do things for you. They have to access your system also. This is the way to do it. I could talk for a lot longer about why this is, something that I feel very strongly about. You've already heard some of it from Jeff, but I really want to hear what Chad's going to say also. I am going to say that, they call their product Curve Hero, which I think is, I like heroes. I'm a big fan of comic books, and I want to be a hero to my patients. I would like somebody else to be the hero that keeps my office protected and safe and gives me access to all the things I need to be optimal and to maximize my potential for clinical success. and also for business success. And so that's why I think the cloud is so important. And that's why I made the switch to Curve. And so I would like to thank Dentists in the Know and Jeff and Chad for allowing me to participate in this, because this has really been a lot of fun. And I'm really anxious to hear what Chad has to say next. And anybody who has any other questions about this for me, I'm not hard to find. Just look me up on Dentists in the Know, send me a private message or an email. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it anytime. So I really appreciate your attention to this, and let's hear what Chad has to say.
Well, thanks. I hope that everybody has been learning something. I certainly have. I've had Curve for about the past year and a month now, and I learned a little bit from Jeff. I learned a little bit from Mitch. I learned that they're both a lot smarter than me, but it's certainly an honor to be presenting with both of them. One of the things that I want to start with is I just want to start with going over and recapping a little bit about what they said and just bringing everything together before we get into artificial intelligence. But if we want to look back at some of the benefits of cloud practice management software, we've got anywhere access. Jeff talked about this. We've got the same software experience from anywhere, any place. I had to log in when we were in Italy in June, and it was just so easy to do. You can move appointments, can send text to patients from anywhere that you are. So it's wonderful to be able to have this access. Whereas before, Jeff showed you how it was working from his practice. We had to have log me in. Took a while to get in. The screen was always fuzzy. This is the exact same that it looks in the practice, in the home, on vacation, wherever you may be. So it allows us to really enable a work-life balance. We can address emergencies anywhere, and we can expand our hiring pool. We can do billing. We can do scheduling. We have a team member in our practice that's about to go out on a maternity leave, and she's our office manager, and she wants to be able to work from home. Through Curve, we're able to allow her to do so. Whereas before, dentistry has been a very contact sport that we have to be in the office in order to engage in dentistry. It's scalable across multiple locations. If you've got multiple offices, you can scale this practice management software to suit the needs of your various offices. So that's another added benefit. And then, as Mitch talked about, it really keeps your patient data secure. There's a state-of-the-art data center. It's certified. They do security audits, I believe, annually, but they mimic attacks throughout the year to make sure that is as rock solid as it can be, and that there's the utmost security of your patient's data. And it's one less thing that we have to worry about. And I know that Jeff and Mitch both alluded to that, but that's a huge weight off of our shoulders, not having to rely on IT, on backups, worry about ransomware, worry about various viruses. We just don't have to worry about that. I mean, we have to worry about that on a more micro level than a macro level, as we did before. Reporting and dashboards, I can tell you the reports can be as elaborate and detailed as you want them to be, or they can be very simplistic. But these reports can be customized for each location that you have, for each patient, and for each data set that you want to retrieve. So that's, again, another important benefit. And then as Mitch alluded to, there's absolutely no disruption when they update the software. So we always have the most current software, and 9 times out of 10, it's done when we don't even know that it's being done. So that's a wonderful asset, rather than, hey, if you want to update your software, we need you to go ahead and pay another $129 a month and $6,000-$7,000 to get the latest version. We don't have to worry about that. That's what our monthly fees go towards. Their imaging, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute, and I have to let you all in on a little bit of a secret. But Mitch showed a picture earlier about what radiographs used to look like. That is my modern day dental practice. So I apologize for that, but Mitch, you weren't supposed to show that picture. So all kidding aside, they have a native imaging component of the software, which really works with all major devices. It's also cloud-based, and there's no storage fees. So this is a wonderful way to keep adding images to your patient's portfolio or to your patient's chart. You can take images from all the devices that you have, the radiographic images. The only thing that we don't store in there, we store screenshots of CBCTs, but extraoral, intraoral photos, and so on and so forth. So it's wonderful imaging component of the software. And then finally, I don't really want to touch on this long, but I can tell you that compared to some of the server-based practice management software systems, Curve is really able to minimize your costs. I know Jeff alluded to this earlier where he was talking about all the various subscriptions that we have, and this is, of course, comparing it to Dentrix, but I used to be a Dentrix user and we had this subscription and that subscription and several other subscriptions. When we went to Curve Hero, we were able to consolidate those. And one of the things that Jeff also alluded to is we were able to put ePrescribe in there. And, we're just eliminating subscription after subscription and consolidating it into one monthly fee through one cloud-based software company. So there's really a lot of advantages to Curve that both Jeff and Mitch mentioned. And it's really been a no-brainer for me to go to a cloud-based practice management software. It's truly an all-in-one platform. And one thing that I will say is that this is a company that listens to their users. They want to know what their end users want. And so where I'm going with that is that the more that we push them, the more that this all-in-one platform continues to grow. And that's what we're going to get into next, is just one of the many areas that they're growing through this cloud-based practice management software. So one more benefit that I'm going to talk about and I'm going to hone in on is the benefit of artificial intelligence. A while back, Pearl came out with an artificial intelligence platform for dentistry. They worked with various companies trying to integrate and merge data sets together, and Curve was very receptive. Pearl is FDA approved for the artificial intelligence that they offer. And so they've partnered together, they've combined forces, and now through Curve, we can use Pearl's artificial intelligence platform. So let's just briefly talk about what artificial intelligence is. And there's several definitions out there. I'll share two of them with you, but the first is from Oxford Languages, and artificial intelligence is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. The second definition is from a company that probably knows AI very well, and it says at its simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field which combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem solving. It also encompasses subfields of machine learning and deep learning, which are frequently mentioned in conjunction with artificial intelligence. These disciplines are comprised of AI algorithms, which seek to create expert systems, make predictions or classifications based upon input data. And that's from IBM. Now, as we talk about artificial intelligence, it's a huge buzz in society, and it's also a huge buzz in dentistry. And in society, they're making us fear artificial intelligence. And in dentistry, I think that we should truly embrace artificial intelligence, because I do believe that it can be very powerful and it can be very synergistic with our clinical practices. So there's various types of AI. There's reactive machines, there's limited memory, there's theory of mind, and there's self-awareness. Now, what we're going to talk about today is a newer form of AI, newer form to dentistry, but AI has been in dentistry for a long time. And in fact, many insurance companies are utilizing AI, and I'm assuming that it's in hopes of being able to decrease their workforce of dentists that are consulting with the insurance companies to help them decide whether or not they should pay on certain claims. But if insurance companies are using AI, then I definitely want to be using it in my practice, and I want to be ahead of the game. From a dental perspective, AI can be classified into diagnosis, decision-making, treatment planning, and prediction of treatment outcomes. Among all the AI applications in dentistry, the most popular one, and in my opinion, the newest one, is diagnosis. AI can make more accurate and efficient diagnoses, thus reducing the dentist workload. Now, one thing that I disagree with this is that I don't necessarily want AI, and you'll hear me say this a lot today. I don't want AI to make my diagnosis. I want AI to offer a second opinion. And so that's what I want to stress to you. It's my opinion that AI is a second opinion to your clinical acumen. So you ultimately make the diagnosis, but AI can assist you in doing so. This has become such a hot topic in dentistry that the ADA released a white paper in February of this year. And some of the things that they said in this white paper, and you can, the link is right here on the slide, but you can download it and look at it for yourself. But they said exactly what I just told you, that clinical decisions are reserved for the dental professionals. So once again, second opinion. You're making the diagnosis. Let this help you, assist you to make that diagnosis. Standards for validity, safety, accuracy, and effectiveness occur within well-defined use cases. Transparency about how products are designed and function before they're used is to be provided by the AI developers. And then finally, dental offices that rely upon AI should ensure that they are used under appropriate conditions by trained personnel. So in our practice, we've used AI for a number of years for our crown making process. We have a CAD/CAM system in our office, and AI is used to design the proposals for the restorations. We've used it for a number of years, but we're relatively new within the past 6 to 9 months of using this for diagnoses. And so in our practice, it's wonderful because our hygienists and our assistants can look through the AI recommendations, or the AI findings, I should say, and then the dentist comes in and either confirms or validates the findings from the AI. And I'm going to be honest with you, most of the time I agree, but sometimes I disagree. And when I disagree with the findings, it's our job to correct the AI, because that's how it becomes more powerful as time goes on. So when we look at how AI is utilized in dentistry, it's utilized in various aspects of dentistry. It has been in some areas for longer than others, but operative, periodontics, orthodontics, prosthodontics, surgery and pathology, diagnosis, of course. So as far as operative is concerned, they have various studies on vertical root fracture detection, apical lesion detection, tooth wear evaluation, dental caries detection, and so on and so forth. As far as periodontics is concerned, they have studies on periodontal bone loss detection, severity of periodontitis, periodontal compromised teeth or detection, and periodontal condition examination. Orthodontics, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but what have we been utilizing for some of our treatment planning of our digital orthodontic cases? And it's AI is part of it, as well as the team of dentists that are overlooking our cases. So the more data that we provide, the better our orthodontics cases can become as future goes on. And then, of course, for surgery and pathology, there's mandibular third molar and inferior alveolar nerve position, relationship detection, various diagnoses of pathology, including squamous cell carcinoma, ameloblastoma, you know what I'm saying, the odontogenic cysts. And so there's various pathological conditions that AI is designed to detect for us. And then as far as prosthodontics is concerned, crown generation is what we've been utilizing it for many years for. You also have shade matching for indirect and direct restorations, and then, of course, dental arch classifications. Now, how are we utilizing this in our practice? And I think that's what I really want to share with you today, is how we're utilizing AI in our individual practices. So I'm going to go through 2 cases, and then I'm going to show you some other detections that the AI system is capable of. But here's the first case that I'm going to share with you. This is a patient that presented. She was 14 years old. She came in for a limited exam. And the chief complaint verbalized by her mother was that her pediatric dentist told us that she needed a silver crown on one of her molar teeth. So when we examined this patient, we noticed that she had a broken distal buccal cusp on tooth number 30. And so the radiographs were going to be sent over. Mom asked that we minimize the amount of radiographs that we take until those were sent over. And this is the one radiograph that we took for this particular patient that most of us will be able to diagnose a lot more than what is on her chief complaint, which was the distal buccal cusp. Of course, she didn't say distal buccal cusp, but part of tooth number 30 is broken and she needs a silver crown. So I look at this radiograph, and here is a mother that's heard one thing from a pediatric dentist, and they're about to hear something very different from me. So here we are. We're going to walk through this video real quick here. This is us in the imaging component of Curve. And as I'm looking at this, I'm starting to notice all of these lesions, whether they're incipient or whether they need to be treated. And I'm starting to talk to Mom about what I'm seeing on this radiograph and how different it is. So we're going to go to our second opinion through Pearl. We click on one button. It populates another screen that is offered by Pearl. And it's another software, but it's fully integrated within Curve by clicking one button. So when I turn the AI on, you will see that all these pink or violet spots are telling us that there's caries detected. Now, once again, we should all be able to diagnose and see these carious lesions. So this is truly a second opinion. But what I'm trying to decide is which one of these am I going to treat for this particular patient, and which ones am I going to try and utilize preventative maintenance to hopefully arrest or reverse some of these lesions. So this is a great way to really educate your team, but in this case, to really educate Mom in that, the proof is right here. These are the lesions that I was pointing out to you. This is what I detected. This is what AI detected. There's a lot more going on in this young lady's mouth than there is, than tooth number 30. So am I going to use this as an absolute diagnosis? No. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to treat number 3 and number 30, and I'm going to put her on a preventive protocol and try and arrest or reverse the rest of the lesions. So this becomes a conversation about what else is going on in her mouth. It becomes a conversation on the necessity to either retrieve those radiographs from the previous dentist or take a whole new set. And it also goes on to tell the mom the restorative and preventive needs of this young lady. So this is a very powerful tool to use, and this is a great way to engage and educate our patients, especially our patients that come to us for just one problem, and then boom, you take that radiograph and you've got so many. So I've got my clinical examination that plays an important role. I've got my radiographic examination that plays a very important role. And then I've got the AI, which in that case is really not just a second opinion, but it's kind of a third opinion. So add those three things together, you've got a lot of powerful tools to help you make a very accurate and detailed diagnosis. So once again, here's her radiograph, and here's her radiograph compared to the AI detection. Now we'll get into this in just a minute, but you can also see in this radiograph that it's picking up the bone loss, or in this case, the distance from the CEA to the crest, the CEJ to the crest of the bone. And so that becomes really powerful when we're trying to educate patients on periodontal disease, which fortunately this 14-year-old does not have at this point in time. So the second case, this one actually just came in this week. So this to me is really powerful to put in a presentation to show that we're utilizing this on a daily basis. This is something that we've quickly become addicted to, and it's something that we can't live without. But this one's a quite different case. It's a 43-year-old male, came in for a limited exam. His chief complaint is he has a second opinion because my dentist told me that I needed a crown, and he points to tooth number 20. So a PAX was sent over to evaluate tooth number 20, and we look at the PA of tooth number 20, and they also sent another PA of the upper right anterior region. And so we've got two PAs, and basically we're talking about, we see a little decay here on tooth number 6. We see that he's got a recent root canal therapy on tooth number 5. He's got an implant in the number 4 spot. And then when I look at this periapical radiograph on tooth number 20, I don't really see what we're talking about, why we'll need a crown. If I, look at this radiograph, I think I might just need to replace a DO composite restoration based upon the decay that I see. So I tell this patient, we're going to take just one bite wing since you're concerned. I've got the PA. I know that the tooth is healthy from the periapical radiograph. Of course, I'm going to test it and make sure that it doesn't need endodontics prior. But we took a bite wing. And when we take a bite wing, and we also took an intraoral photo, I can start seeing why this dentist might have been talking about a crown on tooth number 20. However, when I look at this bite wing, I'm noticing a lot more problems that this patient has no idea are going on. So I have to come in, I have to treatment plan this patient, and I have to tell the patient that in addition to tooth number 20, you've got several other things going on. And I always say, I've got one snapshot in time of one section of your mouth. And in that snapshot of time, I see quite a bit going on. So we're going to take this and we're going to take it into our AI. And, as I'm going through this, I'm sharing with the patient the things that I'm seeing. I'm talking to him about what I'm finding. And I tell him, let's see what AI is going to show us in this particular case. At this point in time, you'll notice that the AI is turned off and I'm just talking to the patient. Now I'm going to turn on the AI and we start noticing that the AI is picking up notable margins on these restorations and it's picking up caries under these restorations. And so one thing that you'll notice is there are a couple areas that it did not pick up caries. So what I'm doing right now is I'm correcting the AI and it's refreshing itself. The more we correct it, the better that it becomes. So once again, it's not always absolute. It requires our input in order to make it a better and more robust system. And so in this area, I'm teaching the AI where that facial carious lesion is that we saw on the intraoral photograph that we took on this particular patient. So once again, AI becomes a very powerful tool as your clinical exam is important, your radiographic exam is important, as is the artificial intelligence examination. Some additional findings that are available through AI are calculus and tartar detection. It's not every day that we see a patient like this, but this particular patient, as many of us can relate to, had no idea that they had anything going on in their mouth. So for this particular sake, I wanted to just point out the calculus. So I turned off the bone loss detector, and I just wanted to show them the calculus, and then I'll go through the bone loss with this particular patient and share with them what this calculus and their lack of hygiene and their lack of periodontal maintenance is doing to their dentition and the deleterious effect that it's having on their overall health. Additionally, it will pick up periapical radiolucencies. Once again, these are things that we should be finding, and hopefully we are, but it's nice to have the AI validate. It's nice to share with the patient, this is what I see, this is what the AI sees, everything checks, so let's proceed. And then, of course, periodontally, we've got our yellow showing 2.85 millimeters of bone loss, and then we've got our orange that is showing more drastic bone loss. If there's minimal bone loss, it will be white. So this particular patient, we're able to show the bone loss by showing them the measurements that AI is picking up from the CEJ to the crest of the bone, and talk to them about treatment for this, treatment options. And it's a wonderful tool to utilize in our practices. There's so many other features that unfortunately in 20 minutes, I don't have time to get to, but hopefully you can see how AI, as opposed to some of what we're hearing in society and on mainstream media, can be very beneficial to dentistry in the long run. So what I will tell you is, you heard me say it before, although AI is a great tool, it is only a second opinion. And once again, if you add in your clinical and then your radiographic examination, it's really a third opinion. Clinical impression, radiographic diagnosis, and AI work well together, but none work well alone. So I always say a second and a third set of eyes is always better than one, and that's what this is providing us. So in closing, I'd just like to share with you that, when Pearl and Curve merged, I truly feel that we got the best of both worlds. We have the best from a practice management standpoint through cloud-based software, and now we can bring a clinical component to that management software that can really help us become better clinicians through being better diagnosticians. So with that being said, I'll close. I want to thank once again Jeff and Mitch. I also want to thank the two guys behind the scenes, John and Chris. You guys have done a great job of putting this together. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you're a member of Dentists in the Know, but if you're not, please do so. You know how to get a hold of me, but there's my email address in case you have any questions that you don't want to be blasted to the masses. So thank you all very much for tuning in, and I'll turn it back over to John.
Look at that. We have them all live. We've got Jeff, Chad, Mitch. How you doing, gentlemen?
Great to see you.
How are you?
Nice to see you.
It's the magic of video, from presentation to like live. I love it. Well, the first thing I wanted to ask, Jeff, I'll start with you, is, as you think back of, what you presented in this webinar, and I know you touched on how this technology, is helping the team, like how it's helping, bring your team together. Just wanted to kind of get your final thoughts on what you shared for the webinar for everybody that's watching.
I think the most powerful thing that I was able to share was the impact that it had on my team. So I showed all of those reactions that I showed in my presentation were the actual reactions of my team. I sent a note out to them. I said, we're doing this webinar, and I want your unadulterated, complete, honest opinion of the transition from where we were in the software that we had before, which of course was a server-based software, and where we are now. And what they said were their real feelings, in that they were 100% on board with the change before we made the change, which is something that never happens with software. They realized that there were some shortcomings with what we were doing. And then once we got it, the implementation process and the transition process, merging the data over, converting the data, all went very well. Now they absolutely adore the system that we're in. Everything is easier to do, easier to find, and it's made my team really happy.
Yeah, I love that. And Mitch, one of the things I loved about your presentation is how, in very simple terms, visually, I think you moved everybody from where they were, what they've experienced with some of the older technologies and some of the challenges that they had, into this new cloud-based world. And I was just curious, when you were putting together your presentation, it just resonated, I think, very well. I think it hit home in regards to, anybody out there watching in the clinical team. It's, yes, they've experienced it. They've experienced the whole situation of the server. Of course, love the cash and the floor analogy as well. That was great. But what, when you were putting this together, what was your whole, idea of what you wanted to get across most?
My idea was very straightforward. It was very simple. It was that we look at a screen, we use our computers all the time, and we kind of feel like it's one thing. It's our computer. But with a server-based system, it's not really one thing. It's a bunch of different things that all have to kind of, if everything goes well, work together properly and get information from one part to another. If you're using a bridge to a different X-ray management program, if you're using a different software to manage text messages, and there are a lot of places that can go wrong. Not just protecting your data, but just where things can not match up properly. And with Curve, the way it integrates with the other things that I use, there really aren't any seams. These other software packages are directly integrated, and so there's less places for things to slip up. It's more of a unified system, and that just, it just immediately made sense to me when I heard about it.
Yeah, and Chad, one of the things that you said that I thought was very insightful was the integration of AI, and you talked about how powerful it's been to have Curve and Pearl together, right? Of this all-in-one system to make things easier and more efficient. But one of the things I think that you shared is how, the clinical team can utilize this AI, right? We're all hearing about AI. We're hearing, so many different things. It can do everything from, do the dentistry itself to wash your clothes. And I thought what you shared was very good in the sense that it's a tool, right? And it still needs, the education and the experience, of you as a dentist and your clinical team. So they'll have you share how that's been, right? I mean, exciting tools to use in the practice, but nonetheless, still needs your insight.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of take-home messages. First, the one take-home message that I want to share is it has to do with the AI in general, but it's that, Curve has been really innovative in the way that they choose their partners and their willingness to listen to what the consumer wants, which is very powerful. But when we talk about AI, yes, it is a tool. It is an accessory. It is not, absolute, and it's something that we need to use. We need to use with caution, but I think it's a very valid addition to the operatory. And it's one of those things like Jeff was talking about with Curve, how his team, embraced it. I think our team has fully embraced the AI aspect as well, and I think it's just a great way to engage, both you and the team member that's chairside with the patient in the chair.
And Jeff, one of the biggest decisions a practice has to make is when they're going to make that decision to switch their practice management software. And can you talk about what that was like, what that experience was like? And more importantly, did you close your eyes and hold your breath, or did you just jump in?
Again, this is one of the biggest decisions that a practice owner can make. I mean, there's really nothing that affects everyone on the team more than changing software. But yet the team knew that it was time for a change because of how inefficient we were, how much time they were spending, follow-up calls and making calls and appointment checks. And now we have something that not only could we all log on from wherever we were, whatever the circumstance was, we could get into the software. As many people could be in a patient's chart at one time as is humanly possible, without interruption. And so when we started talking about making this change, when everyone heard, oh, there can be multiple people in a patient's chart, oh, we can integrate texting and calling patients and following up. We can integrate. The patients can have their own portal where they can log in and they can look for appointment times. And we have these options with Catapult Grow of even letting it organize our huddles and coming soon, being able to fill appointment slots in with quick notice, short notice. Something opens up that day. That's the biggest profit killer in any practice is the lost appointment. So the ability from Catapult Grow to be able to fill open spots, that's coming up soon. And I'm so excited about that because I can't tell you how much time that takes for my team. So it's always scary. I can tell you this was 10 times smoother than the last transition that we made. I think I took a long time to make this decision to change. I knew the cloud was necessary. I knew this would make us more efficient, but I needed my team on board. And now that I've watched this transition and how smoothly it went, I would tell anyone that now is the time to do this because you will absolutely appreciate, and not so much that, your team will appreciate this change because of how much more time it will give them to actually be with the patients that are in front of them.
Mitch, we heard Chad mention what the relationship was like with Curve in the sense of listening. So, getting his feedback, getting the team feedback on features and things like that. Now that you've had a chance to use it, when you look out, 6 months, a year, whatever, is there anything in particular that you're excited about? You wrote down notes and thinking to yourself, wow, with that ability to communicate with them and give them this feedback of some additional features that could make this even more robust. Anything that you can think of or that you're excited about as you look forward?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, I'm always happy to listen to Chad and Jeff talk about this because they're further along in this process. They've been using it for a while. I'm a newcomer to Curve. I mean, I came to this and Curve specifically because I was looking at several different cloud software providers. My ability to get to the right person and talk to them and communicate with them about what I needed was what separated Curve from several of the other, companies that do this. It was never more than one phone call. I mean, we're dentists. We have our particular, there are some things we all do similarly, but other things we're kind of peculiar about. I have a certain way of doing things. It was very easy for me during implementation to get the right person on the phone and either find out how they did something that I needed to do, or get them to tell me what I needed to do to make it work the way I needed to work. That was very different than the other. And I auditioned 4 different cloud-based packages. This by far was the easiest communication with both the technical people and the implementation people at Curve. It was one of the major factors in my decision, actually.
And Chad, you also touched on this relationship with, Pearl and Curve. And I think more importantly, having everything in one spot, for the efficiency side. How do you see this going to help patients moving forward? And maybe talk about that, right? We talk about a lot of these technologies. We talk about how important they are inside the practice for you and your clinical team. And we don't often mention the impact on the patients. And as all 3 of you know, seeing patients on a daily basis, patients are coming in with such a higher level of expectation now to make sure that these technologies are in the practice. So what's that been like, to be able to know that you can offer your patients these, and what is their feedback? Has there been anything that you've noticed from the patient side as they see you utilizing these technologies?
Patients really, one of the best analogies I've ever heard is that sometimes they don't know the difference between a molar and a Maserati, but they'll know the way that they were treated in the office. And I think that this software is really, a lot of software out there is very practice centric. Well, although this is practice centric, it's also patient centric. So everything that they do benefits both the practice and the patient. So, patients are noticing subtle things like the ease of paying, the more concise billing statements, things like that. And so we are getting some compliments because in our previous software, I don't think I couldn't explain a billing statement to the patient, but now it's very, very easy. That's just one of the many things that have changed. The rest of it is it's things that they don't see, but it's the connections that they do see, like the connections to the telephone system and the connections to the AI that we just discussed. Those are things that patients are going to see and they do appreciate. So the majority of it, although it's practice and patient centric, the patients aren't really going to notice the change, but it helps us in our ability to communicate with the patients. And there are things in these integrations and connections that they're making that patients are able to appreciate. And it just adds to the experience that the 3 of us are trying to create with our patients.
And Jeff, I know Mitch mentioned that he, a little bit newer and using the software. Obviously, you and Chad have used it for a little bit longer. So maybe same question back to you, on to piggyback on what Mitch said, on the things that you're excited about, being able to communicate with Curve and any features it would have you that you're excited about talking to them about, or ways that you can see this evolving in the future.
So, as far as the evolution, and first I want to make a correction. I had a piece of mail in front of me that said Catapult on it. And earlier I said Catapult Grow, and this is a Curve product. It is Curve Grow and Curve Heroes. So I happen to have that piece of mail sitting on my desk. So I'm sorry for making that mistake earlier. But yeah, where I really see this becoming huge is everything that this can do that took so much time for us in the past. As I said, that having the ability to fill open slots, and this is all upcoming stuff for Curve, but it's coming in the very near future. There's already tutorials about it. Having the software be able to put together the huddle for us, to be able to gather that information for us real quickly. All of these are time savers. And, when you add in the AI that Chad spoke about, I just think that there's so many opportunities for practices to gain back 30 to 60 minutes of time in any given day. And what's our most valuable commodity in a dental practice? It is the time for the dentist and the time for the team. So human resources, that's what I talked about. If you can do things that make your human resources way more efficient, it's going to be a win. And when you can add an hour more of actual time with patients as opposed to administrative time, I think it's revolutionary for the practice. And I know that there's more great AI stuff coming down the pike, but just having these abilities, and as Chad said, this software does as much for the patient as it does for our team. So this has really just been a win for everybody.
Yeah, this has been great. And I mean, we're in the Dinks group, right? So this is your group. It's great to be here, with you guys, with who you talk to all the time, your doctors and their teams. Any final thoughts, Chad, as we wrap, this webinar, and any particular, final insights?
No, I would just say that, I think the time to start looking into cloud-based practice management software it's definitely now. I mean, it was before now. I feel that the three of us, even though Jeff and I joined a year ago, we're kind of late to the game, but the changes that it will make. I was talking to a doctor last weekend, and he said that he just loves being able to access with ease the schedule or a patient's chart from home. And, that was pretty powerful, because I think that we would all agree that that's pretty awesome. And before, it was harder to do it. Yes, it could be done, but you had to jump through a couple of hoops. And this is just really easy to access anytime, anywhere. And it makes our job much more easier, in the long run.
And Mitch, I know you're a popular guest here in Dinks. Any final thoughts?
Just as much as Chad and Jeff have been talking about how, Curve, what it is not staying the same. They're advancing it and continuing to do more with it. The threats that we face from cybersecurity risk, the sophistication of the kinds of attacks against us are getting much more sophisticated. So whatever the need is now, and it's significant, the need to be in the cloud and out of these server-based systems is only going to get worse. It's going to get more acute with each passing month, year.
Yeah, and Jeff, I just want to let everybody know that for anybody that's watching in the Facebook group, we're going to go ahead and put the link for continuing education in the comments. So for anybody that wants to go ahead and get that certificate, just complete that, fill that out. We'll go ahead and get the certificate emailed over. And if you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be in the description. So you can go ahead and click on that link and get your C certificate. Jeff, any final thoughts from you as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I wouldn't delay. I mean, this is the perfect time of year if you're looking to improve efficiencies in your practice. This is the right time of year to do that, because the ability to have all of your data transferred over is still well within the time frame that we're in, and it's just perfect for kind of tying up loose ends from 2023 and going into a fresh 2024. And what I would encourage everybody to do is, go to Curve and take the tutorial. Let your team see all of these efficiencies and all of the things that their patients will be able to access, like appointment summaries and statements and online forms and payment options, if they elect to do that. There's just so many tasks that we're burdening our teams with right now that when they see the tutorial and everything that's available to them, they're going to be like, well, why didn't we do this sooner, Doc? Which never happened in the past when we said, we're thinking about changing systems. It's always been, it's just going to be another something like what we had before that's going to be difficult to use. But once everybody sees what this is actually capable of, they're going to be well on board. And there's really no better time to do this and kind of wrap up 2023 and start 2024 fresh with more efficient systems.
Yeah, such a great point. And I feel like more than ever that with the technologies that have been put into into the dental practice, that we want to make sure that,
Sorry, folks. That's that's the
Yeah.
tower checking in with me just to make sure that we were
That's
clear
good.
to go
Make
over
sure we're
enemy
good. We're all
territory.
good.
We're good.
Clear,
We're good.
clear
Yeah.
for takeoff.
Yeah,
Vector.
yeah, we're clear. No, I just think again, it's very exciting. Like, you mentioned, there's been technologies that have been put into the dental practice for many, many years, and it really feels like now, like you said, Jeff, that real time is being saved and real progress is being made both for the practice and the patient, which is great. So, want to thank all of you again. Thanks for having me as inside your group. You've done such a great job of building this group, and again, for anybody that's watching on YouTube as well. For the Curve audience as they go ahead and continue to put this out. Big thanks to Jeff, Chad, and Mitch. So thanks, gentlemen. Really appreciate your time.
Hey,
Thank you all
thank
very
you to
much.
you, John and Chris. What a wonderful production, and what you have a great team and organizing all the video, and I don't know we could have had all this put together without you. So thank you.
Very nice.
Our
work.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Have a great
All
day,
right.
guys. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.